There's a fine line between fame and fear. For most of us, celebrity life looks glamorous: red carpets, luxury mansions, designer outfits, and endless admiration. But behind the walls of Hollywood's wealthiest homes, there's a darker side of fame that few ever see. In a city obsessed with watching the rich and famous, the line between fan and stalker often blurs. And for one of the world's most famous supermodels, Kendall Jenner, that line was shattered one terrifying night when her home stopped being a sanctuary and became a prison. This is the story of Kendall Jenner's chilling home invasion, a true Hollywood nightmare that revealed just how dangerous celebrity obsession can become. At first glance, Kendall Jenner's life looks untouchable. Born into reality TV royalty, her name became synonymous with luxury and success before she could even drive. By her early 20s, Kendall was one of the highest-paid models in the world, walking for brands like Chanel, Versace, and Givenchy, and featured on nearly every major magazine cover. But fame brings visibility, and visibility brings vulnerability. In 2017, Kendall lived in a lavish mansion in the Hollywood Hills. A stunning modern property with panoramic views of Los Angeles, glass walls, and a private gate. To outsiders, it was the perfect home, sleek, secure, and hidden above the city. But that illusion would soon shatter. Because even the highest walls can't keep out obsession. Before the break-in, Kendall had already been dealing with the creeping shadow of unwanted attention. Like many of the Kardashian-Jenner sisters, she was stalked relentlessly by paparazzi, fans, and strangers who somehow found her address. Delivery drivers showed up uninvited. Fans left letters at her gate. One even claimed he was her husband and tried to jump her fence. In interviews, Kendall often admitted that despite the fame, she was deeply private, introverted even. "I love my job," she once said, "but when I'm home, I just want peace." That peace would vanish completely on one terrifying night in March 2017. It began like any other night. Kendall returned home from a photo shoot and parked her car outside her Hollywood Hills mansion. She was tired, it had been a long day, and all she wanted was to relax, maybe light some candles, and unwind. At around 1 a.m., she went upstairs to bed. The house was silent, dimly lit, and peaceful. But just hours later, that peace turned to panic. At around 1:30 a.m., Kendall heard a faint noise coming from downstairs, something that sounded like a door creaking open. At first, she thought maybe it was just the wind. But then came the sound of footsteps. Slow. Careful. Moving closer. Her heart started pounding. She froze, listening, then heard it again. The sound of someone moving through her living room. That's when she realized someone was inside her house. Kendall immediately grabbed her phone and called her security team, who were stationed outside the property. Within minutes, they rushed in, but by the time they entered, the intruder was gone. Or so they thought. When police arrived, they discovered something chilling. The glass door near the pool area had been tampered with. Kendall's front gate security footage showed a man slipping in through an unlocked driveway, wandering around her property. And even more unsettling, nothing was stolen. Not her jewelry, not her designer handbags, not her cash. Whoever broke in didn't come for things. They came for her. Police quickly identified the suspect, a man named Siobhan McKenzie, who had already been spotted near Kendall's home several times before. He wasn't just a random burglar, he was an obsessed fan who believed he had a connection with her. McKenzie had reportedly followed Kendall from her modeling gigs, waited outside her gated driveway, and even chased her car on previous occasions. Kendall had already filed a restraining order against him, but it hadn't been enough to keep him away. When authorities finally apprehended him, McKenzie told police that he simply wanted to talk to Kendall. But when investigators reviewed his behavior, they found years of fixation, letters, social media messages, and public outbursts. Kendall testified in court later that year, saying, "I've never been so scared in my life. I shouldn't have to live in fear in my own home." The judge granted her a 5-year restraining order, but the damage had already been done. The sense of safety she once felt was gone forever. In the weeks following the break-in, Kendall was traumatized. She packed her things and moved out of the house immediately. The mansion that once symbolized independence and luxury had become tainted by fear. She later sold the property, saying she couldn't stand being there anymore. Friends said she became hypervigilant, constantly checking her locks, increasing her security, and even moving to a gated community where paparazzi couldn't follow her easily. But the break-in wasn't an isolated incident. It marked the beginning of a disturbing trend in Hollywood, the rise of celebrity home invasions. Just months before, Kim Kardashian had been robbed at gunpoint in Paris. Drake's mansion was broken into by a fan who drank his beverages and slept in his bed. Rihanna, Miley Cyrus, and Sandra Bullock had all experienced stalkers entering their homes. For Kendall, it wasn't just about losing privacy, it was about realizing that fame itself had made her a target. If Kendall thought her nightmare was over, she was wrong. In 2021, just 4 years after her first break-in, she was targeted again, this time by 2 separate stalkers in the same month. The first, a 27-year-old man, reportedly attempted to swim naked in her pool while she was home. Security cameras caught him scaling the wall and stripping down before being apprehended. He told police he wanted to see Kendall. The second stalker, just days later, allegedly traveled across the country to find her and threatened to kill her and himself. It was a horrifying escalation. Kendall was once again forced to take legal action, filing multiple restraining orders and increasing her security detail around the clock. She also made a drastic decision to move out of Los Angeles entirely. According to close sources, Kendall relocated to a hidden, heavily secured property away from the city. She loves LA, one insider said, but she doesn't feel safe here anymore. Kendall's experiences shed light on something few celebrities talk about, the psychological toll of being watched. Fans often see the glamour, but what they don't see is the anxiety, the sleepless nights, the constant fear that someone might cross the line. In interviews after the incident, Kendall spoke candidly about how the invasions changed her. "I used to feel safe in my home," she said. "Now I feel like I'm constantly being watched. I'm scared when I'm alone." Her sisters, Kim, Khloe, and Kylie, all increased their own security as a result. Kylie even stopped sharing live updates of her whereabouts online, saying it wasn't worth the risk. But the trauma lingered for Kendall. In one episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, she broke down in tears, saying, "I literally wake up in the middle of the night freaking out that someone's going to be there. I don't feel safe. I don't know if I ever will again." It was a rare glimpse behind the celebrity curtain, one that showed just how fragile that illusion of security really is. Psychologists say Kendall's experience is part of a broader phenomenon, celebrity fixation disorder, where fans develop unhealthy, delusional attachments to famous people. Social media has only amplified it. Celebrities post where they are, what they're wearing, and what their homes look like, giving stalkers easy clues to track them. For Kendall, whose Instagram reaches hundreds of millions, every post became a potential risk. One photo of her pool or her driveway could give away her location. And while most fans are harmless, it only takes one who isn't. The LAPD has since created specialized, threat management units to monitor and protect public figures. Still, experts say that in cases like Kendall's, fame becomes both a blessing and a curse. The world loves you, but it also feels entitled to your space, your privacy, your life. What makes Kendall's story especially haunting is what it represents, the collapse of safety within the one place everyone should feel most secure, home. For Kendall, her house wasn't just a building. It was her retreat, her escape from flashing cameras, chaotic schedules, and the constant noise of fame. But when that space was violated, it stripped away her last layer of protection. The fear of being followed never fully leaves you. Every creak in the floorboards, every camera flash outside your gate, it all brings the trauma rushing back. And for Kendall, that fear became a constant companion. The terrifying break-in at Kendall Jenner's house isn't just a crime story, it's a reflection of modern fame itself. Celebrities today live under constant surveillance, not just by paparazzi, but by millions of fans online. Their lives are public property, dissected and shared in real time. Kendall's experience forces us to ask, how much privacy do celebrities really deserve? And at what point does admiration turn into danger? Because for all the wealth and beauty, no amount of fame can buy peace of mind. And no gate can keep out obsession. Today, Kendall lives a quieter life, at least as quiet as possible for someone constantly in the spotlight. She still models, still travels the world, and still posts to her millions of followers, but with a new sense of caution. Her current home location remains undisclosed, and her appearances are often heavily protected. Even her car routes are planned in advance to avoid tailing. Friends say she's become more introverted, spending most of her free time away from LA, surrounded only by people she trusts completely. But despite everything, she remains resilient. "You can't let fear control you," she said in a 2022 interview. "I love my life, I love what I do, I just wish people would remember that I'm human." In Hollywood, fame is power. But it's also exposure. And for Kendall Jenner, that exposure came with a cost far greater than she ever imagined. The terrifying break-in wasn't just an invasion of her home, it was an invasion of her sense of safety, her identity, and her peace. In the end, Kendall's story isn't just about one night of horror. It's about what happens when fame erases the line between admiration and obsession, and how even the brightest stars can't escape the shadows that follow them. Because in Hollywood, the spotlight doesn't just illuminate, it attracts. And sometimes, what it attracts is terrifying.